Hi friends, it's Carly and I am back with another review. We are on our final figure of the Age of Apocalypse series before we get to Sugar Man, and I saved this one for last especially because it looked so good in the package, and a lot of people have told me in the comments on my previous videos from this wave that it's the best figure in the series. So with my fingers crossed, I saved him for last, hoping that this would be a really positive review. And so today we are going to be looking at Hank McCoy, Dark Beast. So again, just reiterating that I have not read Age of Apocalypse, but I do look up synopses before I do these videos so that I'm not going completely blind when I talk about the characters. And in this alternate universe, Hank is actually a supervillain. So he does experiments on himself and others to enhance his powers and to give other people powers, and just all these really hideous sort of experiments is what he's using his great mind for science for. So he's really a villainous character. And I also read, I think that he works with Mr. Sinister, and I also read that he is one of the only characters, because he was such an awesome, creepy supervillain, to get pulled out of the Age of Apocalypse universe and put into the regular universe, the regular timeline and universe after that. So he got carried through to continue his dastardly deeds, and I'm really interested in knowing about that because Hank is such an interesting character to me anyway. I always really want to know more about him, so it'll be kind of interesting to get, you know, someone shared a link with me on to be able to read Age of Apocalypse online, which I'm so super stoked about. So I am going to try again to do that, and I think if I read the whole series, it'll give me a new perspective, and then I can get on and follow these storylines after the event and see what happens to the characters who get pulled out, like Hank and Nate Gray. So I'm excited to read about that. So this figure, the reason, before I knew that I was going to end up being pretty disappointed with a lot of the figures in this wave, I kind of wanted to save this one for last just because everything else aside about the series, just looking, this was the most impressive looking figure to me other than Sugar Man himself. He is large, he's bulky, the color is so cool. I love the metallic pants, but I really love that dark navy. He just looks, the sculpt is scary. He really does look terrifying, honestly, and I really just thought that he would be the most interesting to talk about out of everything, and I think that that might prove to be correct, because when I got him out, he is very satisfying to touch. He's got all kinds of sculpting across his body with his fur. He, again, this is just something they did with the wave, and I know, I've gotten a lot of comments saying like, well, that's what they looked like in the book, and I get that. I understand that these are modeled and designed after the book, but that does not mean that the aesthetic works for me or on these figures. I think that there are some of these elements from the books that could have been finessed a little bit to make them more aesthetically appealing in hand. Not all of this artwork can translate directly, and I think trying for the direct translation of what was put on the page into a 3D format is where a lot of these figures have gone way off the rails for me. So I know, I do understand that this is how they looked in the book, but when you're translating from a 2D image to a 3D holding in your hand figure, sometimes you're gonna have to get a little bit creative to make those things translate properly and to work well in a new format. And so for me, although this is the hair that he had, I do really like sort of the the ponytails in the front, but again, we have this really dramatic lift off of the body that I just don't like. This sort of anime style wings. It's how he looked, but on a figure it looks funny. And I think this is the best of all of them, for sure. It's far better than Weapon X. It is far, far better than Wild Child, but it still isn't perfect for me. That said, looking straight on, if you get him in a good position, looking straight ahead, his facial sculpt and the paintwork on his face, the enhancing of the different parts of his fur that give him sort of you know, like mutton chops here, his sort of werewolfy hairline, and they actually make use of, it looks like a little bit of dry brushing to give him, you know, some dark elements. The facial sculpt and the paintwork on the face are very dynamic, and I really appreciate the way that this figure looks head on. He looks scary, he looks bestial, he looks a little bit crazed with this grin that he has on his face. So I do really like him head on, and you know, as long as I'm not looking at him from the side, I can get past the hair as a helmet that sort of sits over with all this negative space and just really appreciate him head on. So I think that he's a success from the front for sure. Let's look at the points of articulation, and as we do that, we'll look at the different sculptural elements that are put on each body part, because there's a lot and they look good. So the head is good because of the hair. This is the only, this is as high as we can look up, but we get a really good look down, which is great. And he has a really great range of motion. He has that, that peg neck, so he can sort of look in a circular, a nice circular axis. This figure has butterfly joints, which it should, I think, and you can see these are going to be really dramatic. When we pull them back, they go all the way back. And when you make use of that lateral lift, it really gives him a scary sort of attacking, kind of threatening look. And forward, they don't go too far forward. That's not always super necessary though. You can sort of see with the arms down now what we get with the butterfly joints forward. So a little bit, but not too much. The lateral lift on these is great. And I didn't talk about the accessories, but this one, unlike almost all of the other figures in the line, did come with accessories. He comes with a pair of sort of relaxed fist hands. They're relaxed, but they're also sort of in a fist. So there's one like that, and then one like this. Let's see if we can get focus on that. So one like this. And then of course he's got his flat palmed hand so that you can do the beast handstand, and I tried that with him. He does balance beautifully and stand in a handstand. I'll put a picture of that up on my Facebook page. And then another more open sort of clawed bestial type hand. So the hands are pretty relaxed. I've got one of each on now, and it's great. You can do a lot with them as far as poses, but if you have this one palm down, you can actually get him in a nice handstand, and I'll post a picture of that again, I said, on my Facebook. So we've got the lateral lift, we've got 360 on the bicep. Despite, or in spite of his huge muscles, we get a really good bend in the elbow, so I'm super satisfied with that. And the hands have a forward and backward bend that works great on all of the accessories, all of the hand accessories, as I was able to see when I did that handstand. So the arms and hands are great, and I really like the dramatic backward butterfly joint. I think those are really effective. So this guy has a turn in the abdomen instead of a lower waist turn, so he turns up here. And then he's got a pretty dramatic bend back, which is good, and forward. I seem to recall that on these broader body types, sort of wider frames, that sometimes the bend in the torso isn't as good, and I could be wrong about that, but whenever they have butterfly joints, it tends to be better, and this one seems to be like that. Not so much forward, but really good backwards. And I think that's kind of to get like a growling sort of effect like this. Very werewolfy. Let's see. So the legs are really good. We've got a really great lateral lift on the legs with this guy. And having him be so big and having those work so well and so effectively is impressive. So I'm really happy with that. And I love this metallic look on the pants too. I think it's really striking against his navy fur that it's all in the same color family, but it really stands out. And I love that contrast. Not contrast, it really sort of, it's not a well, I mean, I guess it is a contrast, at least in materials, against his furry body, which we can see sculpted on his shoulders, his forearms. He's got great big clawed hands. But the color against the pants is striking, and it looks really, really good, and I really like it. So, but there is a little bit of an issue. It was really hard for me. These turn 360, but it was really difficult for me to like get them worked through. I know that's not a huge issue, but I mean, if we're being honest, you can turn them, but they do have clicks, and so it's kind of hard to get between clicks because they're already so stiff, but they do work all the way through. There you go, you can see that again. We've got really great legs. Again, for as huge as his calves and thighs are, I'm super, super happy with that. He does not have the boot turn, but he has very flexible feet, which is great. So he's got a bend here on his toes, which I think is more for expression than for balance. His toes can go all the way back like this, all the way forward, his foot, I should say. And then he has the really flexible ball and socket joint that you can use all types of different ways. So with a really limited accessories pack, but hands that I actually really, really like, and the fact that a figure this top heavy can balance in a one-handed handstand is just really impressive to me. So to me, that says that all of the points of articulation, the balance of this figure is on point, although I'm gonna keep saying it. This is a mold that has been used and reused, and this figure is loosey-goosey. So, I mean, that's just how he is. I know that I have to point it out. So you can balance him. He does get a really good balance, and he gets his handstand that looks really awesome, but it is a loose figure, and you really have to work with him to get that center of gravity because of how top heavy and how he is and how loose he is in the torso and in the hips. So all of that said, though, when you do put the time and effort into working him, you can get some really fun poses. And I'm really happy with this sculpt. As I said, you know, the hair is weird for me in the back, but straight on, I have zero complaints about the way that he looks. From his yellow eyes to his super, super bright white fangs, his grin, the bands on his ponytails here. I just think that he just looks really scary, and I like this Hank. I like the Dark Beast. I think he looks really, really cool. So, if I'm being 100% honest, is this one of my favorite figures in my entire collection? Probably not, although I don't have a Beast, and as far as Hanks go, I think this is a really good looking one, even though it is from an alternate universe. So I'm happy to have that in my collection. There's a lot of X-Men things coming out. I've got my Sentinel coming on the way, so I do want to have lots of X-Men characters to go like along with that. This isn't my favorite, but it is successful. It's a satisfying figure. He's good looking. And as a part of a wave of figures, the Age of Apocalypse wave of figures, this is the best one. He looks the best. He is the most cohesive. He functions the best overall. He's the one with the least missteps. I can't see anything that is like a direct misstep other than this hair sculpt that I'm just sick of on this line. But that said, you can still do everything you need to do with him, so I'm not even going to really count that because I knew that was going to happen before I even opened him. So I really like Hank. I really like this figure, and I'm glad that I saved him for last because it feels good to finish on a positive note before we look at the bath with all of the issues that we sort of had going along the way. Let me know what you guys think of Dark Beast. Is he actually the best in the line? Do you think that there are better figures? Do you think this was a great line and I'm too critical? Or was it a horrible line and you feel sort of like I do where it's like, you know, I've got one more coming up and some exclusives and I might kind of take a break from Marvel Legends and give them a chance to like roll out the new body types and the new molds that they've got coming up. I'm curious what your thoughts are. Please share them all in the comments below. I'm super, super grateful for you guys being so active in this community that is sort of coming together through my videos. I really appreciate seeing the same people comment all the time and share your thoughts with me, time-stamping things that I say and sharing your thoughts, correcting me when I make mistakes, disagreeing with me if you think I'm wrong, or agreeing with me if you think I'm right. It really means a lot because that's kind of what review is all about. It's discussion. It's throwing my opinion out there and hearing what you guys think and what your opinions are too. So make use of that comment section. I love reading them and I respond to every single one, and I will continue to do that forever, as long as I possibly can. Make sure that you guys are subscribed to my channel. Turn on your notification bells. I have another exclusive figure I'll be talking about soon, and I'm gonna slow things way down after we do Sugar Man tomorrow. So we'll get back to a schedule where I'm doing a video about every other day or every 3 days, just to sort of pace things out a little bit and actually get some time to think about the things that we've just said and done before we move on to the next one. So I am so appreciative of you guys for rolling with me through these 2 series, the Retro Spider-Man and the AOA figure. And we're gonna keep things going, but we're gonna keep them light and breezy and give ourselves time to think about everything that we're seeing. So thank you so much for watching my videos. Please make sure you subscribe, turn on your notification bell, like, share, comment, and I will be back tomorrow with the final figure in the Age of Apocalypse wave, the Sugar Man himself. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye, friends!